Why hello there, welcome back to GSL-English. In today's lesson, I'm going to show you exactly how to learn English. So, as always, it's my pleasure to give you all a very warm welcome back to the class today. My name is Gideon. Now, in today's lesson, I'm going to be giving you some tips on how you should learn English, because maybe you want to learn English, maybe you want to improve your English, but you just don't know how. Or maybe you've been studying for so long now, you would consider yourself an advanced English speaker, but you've stopped improving. You've stopped getting any better. Well, in today's video, we're going to change that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you 5 steps on how you should learn English. And these are steps that I've been giving to my students for many years, and I promise you they do help. But what's interesting is they might not be quite what you expected. So let's get straight into it with step number 1, which is change your thinking. Okay? That is step number 1. We want to change the way we think. What do I mean by that? Well, when we decide to learn a language, in this case, of course, it's English, we think about that end goal, don't we? We think about being fluent. We think about perfect pronunciation. We think about perfectly expressing our thoughts and opinions. That's probably what we want. I want you to stop thinking about that. I want you to stop viewing that as your main focus. And the reason that I want you to stop thinking about that all the time is, of course, that might be your end goal. But if we constantly focus on perfection, fluency, comparing ourselves to others, learning English actually becomes quite a negative process, because we end up focusing a lot of the time on our mistakes, where we are going wrong, and it's not an enjoyable experience. So what do we change our thinking to? Well, I want you to think of it as a lifestyle change. I want you to think and incorporate the English language into your life. When we include the English language into our everyday life, it doesn't become a separate process. We don't have our life and then learning English. They are combined. And this is brilliant because, one, it creates a more natural learning experience, which will help us reach our goals sooner. But also, it just makes the whole experience more enjoyable, more manageable, and more reachable. For example, if you are driving or traveling to work, do you listen to the radio? Well, if you're going to include English in your lifestyle, you listen to the radio in English. You choose to listen to English podcasts. If you are cooking dinner and you have a TV show on in the background, make it an English TV show. If you're exercising and you like to have the radio on, or you like to listen to music, have the English radio on. Have English music on. Try and include the English language in every part, or as many parts of your life as you can. We want to replace the normalities of our life with English normalities. That is the thinking that we want to have. So rather than thinking of learning English as an end goal, think of it as just part of our life. This is so much more beneficial than just sitting down for 1 hour a week and learning English with a teacher, or writing down 1,000 words. That will not help us reach our goal. But if we just consistently include it in our life, we will find that we progress much quicker. We progress naturally, and we develop our own view of the language, and that is what we want to do. So, step 1 on how to learn English is change your thinking. Stop focusing on perfect pronunciation and fluency. Stop focusing always on that end goal. Instead, think of it as part of your life. And that leads us nicely into step 2, because when it becomes part of our life, we have to do this. we need to plan ahead. Planning ahead is essential. If we want to be successful in anything, we have to have a plan. Now, one thing that I have learned with myself and many of my students is that planning our week, planning ahead, is a very individual thing. We all have different lives, don't we? We all have different responsibilities. So we can't take someone else's plan and put that over our life. We have to do it individually. Remember, we are changing our thinking. This is becoming part of our life. So to plan ahead, to include English in our daily routine, our daily life, it has to be realistic. It has to be manageable. And that might be 5 minutes a day. That might be all we can fit in. It might be 10 minutes. It might be 30 minutes. But whatever we decide to plan into our schedule every day, if possible, has to be reachable. It's got to be realistic. So what I would like you to do now is either pause this video, or after this class, I want you to take out your calendar on your phone or a physical copy and write down just everything you have to do throughout the week. So write down when you are working, when you are cooking, when you are traveling, whatever you have to do throughout that week. Then look at your week and see when could you fit learning English into that week. Maybe it's when you're driving to work, you think all I have time to do is listen to a podcast. We plan it. Or maybe even better, we find that we have a coffee break for 15 minutes. That is when we learn English. Maybe on a following day, we realize that actually it's after dinner. Once the kids have gone to bed, I've got 20 minutes. That is when we learn English. But we just plan the whole week out. So we don't have to think about it. We just look at our calendar and know when we are going to study. But also, don't just plan the time, plan the material. So think about what you are going to listen to. Think about what you are going to study. Know that so that when you sit down to study, you don't spend the time Googling what to look at. You already know. We are being efficient with our time. So that is step 2. We really need to plan ahead, weekly or monthly. Okay, step 3 is so important. It's really important actually, and that is to learn vocabulary. Now, please, don't get me wrong. We still need to learn grammar. We still need to practice our writing. We need to, have a rounded understanding of the English language. But vocabulary is essential. So what I want you to do after this class every day is write down 100 new words. Of course, that is not what I mean. Please, don't do that. It's a complete waste of time. We need to gradually learn vocabulary. We need to learn vocabulary that we're going to use, that helps us to express our thoughts and opinions. And the more vocabulary we have at the ready, the easier it is for us to speak and talk to others. So we need to learn vocabulary productively and effectively. We need to make the most use of our time. Now, I'm going to share a process with you. There's an exercise that I want you to try. Now, okay, with this exercise, you're not looking at as many words as you would if you were writing down 50 words a day, but this is much more beneficial. This is what I want you to do. Okay, as an exercise, whenever you hear a new word or you read a new word, write it down. It might even be an expression or an idiom. I want you to just write that word down, maybe on the notes page on your phone or a little book. So you build this little database of words that you don't know. Now, this is the exercise. I want you to choose one of those words. Choose one, whatever it is. Then, I want you to write that word down on a piece of paper. Yes, I've got a pen here somewhere. Yes, use an actual pen and a piece of paper and write it down. So, at the top of that piece of paper, you write down that word. Underneath that, you will write down the definition of that word, both in English and your native language. Then, underneath that, I want you to connect this word with your life. What I mean is, I want you to associate this word with you, with your lifestyle. For example, let's imagine that we're looking at the word similar or similarity. Once we've written down the word, the definitions, We then could write down ways that we are similar to our family members. What are the similarities between us and our mum and our dad? Write it down. Connect that word with your life. Then write down synonyms for that word, words with the same meaning. Antonyms, word with the opposite meaning. Write down new sentences that you could use that word and repeat this process. This is effective vocabulary learning. And as we do this, as we gradually, daily take one word and we zoom in on it, we build this fantastic database of new vocabulary that we can review. This is making the most of our time. Writing down 50 to 100 random words a day will not do that, because we want to learn vocabulary in a way that we can use it. This exercise will do that. So please let me know in the comments, are you going to try this exercise? I challenge you all to do it at least once over the next week. Do you accept the challenge? Okay, point number 4, and I really do mean this one, on how to learn English, and that is to enjoy it. If we enjoy something, we're more likely to do it. So I would like you to either pause this video or at the end of this video, write down or think about 5 things you enjoy. Okay? Maybe it's cars, baking, cooking, traveling, fashion, whatever it is. I want you to write down those things you enjoy. Would it make sense for you to focus on everything but those topics when it comes to the English language? No, that would make no sense. We need to find a way of studying English that we enjoy. We want to study English relating to the things that we enjoy, because if we do this, we are more likely to be consistent. We look forward to it. We want to study. Now, as a disclaimer, of course, again, we might not enjoy business, for example, but we need to learn business vocabulary and business English. That will also be part of our study, but we really want to focus on the things that we enjoy wherever possible. Remember, we're trying to change our thinking to studying English, that it isn't a separate process to our life. It is part of our life. So if we find podcasts on things that we enjoy, we're going to study it. For me, it's cars. So I would find videos on cars, podcasts on cars. I like a bit of history. So I would read articles about history in English. This way, we look forward to it. We learn new vocabulary. We're getting out of the habit of English just being when we sit down, we study, we do exams. It doesn't have to be like that. So the 4th step on how we can learn English is find ways to enjoy it. So find videos you enjoy in English, podcast, articles, books, literature, radio stations, whatever it is. Find ways to enjoy learning. It's essential. Okay, step number 5 on how to learn and improve your English is you've got to use it. And I don't mean in your head. I mean use it out loud. We need to speak in English. And what I mean is speaking English literally whenever and wherever we can. Once a week with a teacher for an hour is not enough. We need to consistently speak and use the English language. We need to use the new vocabulary that we've learned. We need to use the new expressions. We need to speak and try out and perfect our pronunciation in the way that we like it. We've got to use the language, otherwise we're not going to get any better. Speaking is essential, not just because it will help as a memory aid, but we get our mouth and our brain used to moving in the way that it needs to speak English. So set a time with your friends and your family, if possible, when you only speak English. Find an app or an online service where you can speak to native or advanced English speakers. Even if that is not an option, speak to yourself in the mirror. Write down a question and just answer it out loud. Who cares if you look crazy? We can all look crazy together, but please, if you want to learn English, how we do it is by using it. If we want to ride a bike, if we want to learn to ride a bike, we don't just stare at that bike, do we? We get on it. We ride it. It's the same. We don't just study new vocabulary. We don't just study grammar. We've got to use it. That is how we learn. So there you have it. There are 5 ways, 5 steps on how you can learn English. But really, the idea is that we change our thinking. This isn't just a process to become fluent. Try and think of it as part of your life. Include the English language into your daily routine, and I promise you will see how quickly your English will improve. So let me know in the comments, which of these steps was your favourite? Which one are you going to try? But I would also be really interested to know, how have you learned English? What has helped you the most? Share your thoughts and suggestions in the comments. So once again, thank you so much for watching this video. Thank you for your support. Please give it a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Don't forget to subscribe and turn notifications on. I'll see you all very soon. Have a good one, guys.